musically, yeah. Sound boy bury in the dirt, yeah. Them should know this is champion sound. I know them bury 6 foot on the ground.
Are you kidding me?
Look a fool, watch it talk where you make. Where you man a bad man, I will not take disrespect.
We held every big title in the world of dance.
Lay them to rest. Look a fool, watch it talk where you make. Who's my son, you know what instant death. Look a fool, them a send them check. But them no bad like we sound yet.
Van Gerwen is in beast mode.
Players just making their way out, will be walking on very shortly. Just to go over what I said a minute ago, Michael Van Gerwen with an opportunity tonight against Stephen Bunting to get himself back into those playoff places, but an opportunity as well for Stephen Bunting. Might be 10 points worse off, but he has been in good form. Yes, he lost in the quarterfinals last week, but that was due to a ridiculous average of over 118 from Luke Humphries. So what can the Bullet produce this evening against the hometown hero, Michael Van Gerwen? Let's find out, shall we? Let's head out to the stage and join John McDonald.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the action. This is the Premier League Dance, coming to you live on Sky Sports from the great city of Rotterdam. Time to meet the players. The winner of the International Dance Open, a Bahrain Dance Master, a winner of the Masters, a two-time World Championship semi-finalist, and a winner of the Lakeside. It's the Bullet, Stephen Bunting! Ladies and gentlemen, time to welcome home a Dutch legend. 157 PDC titles worldwide, a 7-time Premier League champion, and ladies and gentlemen, the 3-time champion of the world. It's mighty Michael Van
homecoming for Michael van Gerwen, and how he would like to find some form in front of this Dutch crowd. But he was all right in the quarterfinals last week, but poor again in the semi-finals. Didn't deliver on the Pro Tour either. We know he's still got a bit of that injury lingering, so good to see where he's at this evening. Been bumped out of the top 4 as well. But can he make some ground on Gerwen Price tonight, who has just lost to Nathan Aspinall and not managed to add to his tally? Stephen Bunting, meanwhile, won the night a couple of weeks ago in Berlin, picking up his first points then. Couldn't add to that last week, went out in the quarterfinals. Bunting bottom on 5 points, 10 off the playoffs. But can he add anything this evening and do it on Van Gerwen's home turf as well? Let's find out in the company of Mark Webster. Rodstad.
Thank you, Emma. Well, Michael van Gerwen started the evening outside the playoff berths, but he did have the solace of knowing that the 2 players immediately above him, Price and Aspinall, were playing each other, so one of them was going to fail to add to their tally, and Van Gerwen knows that man is now Price, and if he beats Bunting, he'll move above the Iceman and back into the all-important top 4. And he has beaten Bunting in their only meeting in the Prem this year, a 6-1 toweling in Glasgow when MPG posted his highest average of the season, 109 and change. And we're alongside a man whose middle name is Panache, Mark Webster. What a strange name to give a Welsh baby 40-something years ago.
I've kept that quiet for all this time as well. Yeah, big night for Michael van Gerwen, and like you rightly pointed out, Rod, the fact that Aspinall was playing Gerwen Price meant that something could give for him here. Victory here, he hops back into the top 4, but it's more about finding that consistency and playing injury-free against, let's say, revitalised Stephen Bunting. He had a good couple of weeks. That nightly win in Berlin, quickly followed by a Euro Tour win, and will look to apply pressure in an arena where Michael van Gerwen has underperformed, particularly the last few years under this format.
Well, the conventional wisdom would be that playing in the Netherlands would lead to good results, but there's no discernible evidence of home advantage in darts. It's not like football. And overall, Mark, as you allude to, he's won 4 and lost 5 matches in this arena. He's won 2 and lost 3 under this format. His best and biggest win was in 2019 when he sent Van Barneveld into retirement with a 7-1 caning. On the 28th of March 2019, Barney reversed the decision 24 hours later, you'll probably recall. But that was a great win for the great Dutchman over the doyen of Dutch darts. He can't finish here. Bunting will be back for 32.
Against the Michael van Gerwen throw as well, and I mentioned that nightly win in Berlin a couple of weeks ago for Bunting. He looks at this 32. Tricky now, and it gets it and breaks through quite comfortably. Yeah, going back, he won in Berlin a couple of weeks ago. He was beaten by Luke Humphries with that ridiculous performance. Humphries averaged 118 and a half last week. Bunting's average actually his highest in his Premier League history. He's actually lost on 5 occasions. We saw that graphic at the beginning. 5 occasions in this Premier League with a ton-plus average. So he's been a bit unfortunate, but he's continuing to chip away and showing a good attitude week in, week out, Stephen.
That was an epic night in Berlin. Now, earlier this evening, we saw Chris Dobey defeat Luke Humphries, which extended his advantage over Bunting in the battle to avoid the wooden spoon to 4 points as we stand now. So Bunting is going to need to win tonight and hope Dobey loses in his semi-final against Aspinall if he wants to get off the bottom tonight. Otherwise, he will be the cellar dweller going into his home night in Liverpool 7 days from now.
Bunting won that night in Berlin, operating around about his tournament average, so finally that sort of consistency was rewarded. And he's making some good early inroads here. It's a real slow start for Michael. It is only leg 2. But he's looking like going 2 legs down here.
And you mentioned Berlin, and that could be the key night in the Van Gerwen campaign, because he didn't play through injury and was given a 0-6 result. He got no points, obviously, and that has rather jettisoned him outside the playoff places. He'll be back in tonight if he wins this match, but he's now got his back up against the wall.
as well that night. He was due to face Gerwen Price, who gave his rival for the top 4 2 points, and no disrespect to if it was Bunting or Dobie, it'd have been a bit less damaging. But that is really damaging. That's a 2-leg lead. He's been left high and dry in both legs here, Michael. He needs to get going.
In that 2019 year I mentioned, Van Gerwen went on to beat Price in the final of the Premier League, and he's gone on to win it again and again since then. He's won the Prem 7 times. He has been the master of the Premier League. He's the master of the maximum. He's first of the night.
Needed as well. Got to hold throw here, Michael. Go down a couple of breaks. In this short format of race to 6, you're leaving yourself with a mountain to climb. But got himself a little bit of breathing space.
20-point gulf in the averages. Cannot win Van Gerwen if that gulf is maintained. Has to improve and has to hope Bunting drops off. But Van Gerwen here surely will get a leg on the board from this position, won't he?
Well, you'd think so, and he's got time to lay it up, which is a great position to be in. May not need the time. Get off and running in style. Set for a 12-darter. At least he's missed outside. You don't start messing around with double 5 or splitting the 10. He'll be back.
Well, I've no doubt in my mind that Stephen Bunting's first priority is to avoid the wooden spoon. Small goals first. But he is 10 points off the playoff places. It is not completely insurmountable if he can pick up nightly wins as he did in Berlin. Van Gerwen here looking to pick up a leg. What's happening here? Oh my word.
Second dart caused him all sorts of problems. It was low, it kicked left. And oh, yeah, look at that. He didn't really move either. Thought he may have shifted to the right and gone for the top half of that double 10. He's created problems for himself here. This would really hurt. Needs a treble, Stephen.
Well, I said that Van Gerwen would surely win this leg about 5 minutes ago. If he misses 3 here, he may not. He hasn't missed. Finally closes the door. We saw some faff there, all right, didn't we? Missed 5 darts and a double, gets over the line in the end to put a leg on the board, averaging, wait for it, 77.02.
But it's lifted the crowd, and can they lift Michael?
Can he rise himself?
Yeah, look, he's getting frustrated. He's struggling to get those darts. If he's missing the treble 20, you want to be above it so you can work your way down.
Well, the extraordinary thing is, and an extraordinary statistic, Van Gerwen here on the fringe of the playoff race has a tournament average a point lower than as well as Stephen Bunting. That'll shift the average upwards for Van Gerwen, and it might get him back into this game.
It's the 4th year of this format. In 2022, Van Gerwen had 3 nightly wins, 3 again in 23, 4 in 24. But in week 11, and he has 0 nightly wins in this Premier League campaign. It's not gone to plan. But with all the woes, the injuries, the inconsistencies, he wins this game. He's back in the top 4.
Well, such has been the decline that bookmakers are quite happy to lay you 8-1 that Van Gerwen wins the night here in his home tournament in Rotterdam, and that's almost unheard of over recent years when he would go off favourite for virtually everything. Now Littler has that berth. We'll see him next, by the way, the Duke. There's Rob Cross. Winner of these last 2 quarterfinals will collide in the semis. We already know it's Dobie versus Aspinall in the top semi-final. But Van Gerwen, having been throwing like a drain, has a 2-dot combo to level up. Double 16 to do just that. Double 8 to square it off. 2-2.
And credit to him, Michael. That's more like it, that leg, and he just needs to get himself fired up.
57.
And things aren't going your way. You're not playing like you can. You've not got the right rhythm. You've got an injury. If you can just show a bit of fight, it's So admirable, and Van Gerwen's got this game level.
Well, Nathan Aspinall came off stage really rubbing his injured right shoulder, but it was a case of beware the injured dartist in that opening quarter-final for the Aspers. He defeated Gerwen Price, at one point averaging 110, though it did drop to 97 and change in the end. But we saw Van Gerwen struggling early on here, but these kind of troughs from these great players don't last forever, and Stephen Bunting may find if you don't bury them when you're on top, you can be bitten. And Van Gerwen is biting back here, by the way.
The average still in the low to mid-80s from Michael. The scoreline is the important factor. Himself back at 2 apiece and looking a lot more comfortable now. Still nowhere near his best than what we expect, but a lot more comfortable. You logged the average, I think, about a leg and a half ago, and we're about 9 points higher than that now, Rod. So he's around about 77 then.
Indeed, and he's looking here at 99, which has never been the easiest double-digit finish to go in front. Tops, the target is to settle for 2 singles to leave tops, but Stephen Bunting, an important visit here for the Bullet.
Double 18 to lead again, and he does lead again. Bunting breaks. Halfway to the semi-finals. And 2 more points to try and close the gap on Chris Dobie.
Lovely combination, pop finish, and then he starts the 6th with a 140 on his own darts, Stephen Bunting. You'd have to say to the eye he's been the better player, to the data he's been the better player, but there's only a leg in it.
Like you rightly said though, Rod, he's been the better player. There's the evidence. Tailed off a little bit in leg 4. When you've got Michael Van Gerwen on the mat, you've got to take advantage, and he's got a big advantage in this leg now, courtesy of that visit.
There will be those that think it's impossible to have a Premier League finals night without Michael Van Gerwen. It's more unthinkable. Yeah, it's unthinkable that we could see a Premier League finals night without Michael Van Gerwen, the way he's dominated that particular night of darts over the years, over recent years. But it's becoming more possible, Mark, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's since he's been a Premier League participant, he's missed out on 1 occasion, hasn't he? But yeah, he's got work to do, Michael. He's still got time. It's not about the time, it's about the level of performance and how free he is from that shoulder injury.
Stephen, you require
70 here, separating Bunting from a 2-leg lead. We'll get 1 dart and 1 dart only at double 16. And we finish from pop to pop in back-to-back legs for the Bullet. 4-2 he leads.
59.
Michael did have a run in the week in Rossman into the last 16. But needs to hold throw here. Looking a bit desperate, but that's the perfect response. This is his 3rd match for Michael.
You mentioned the year that he didn't reach the playoffs, Mark. It was in the chaos of COVID in 2020, so long ago. It was when Glenn Durrant won it. Just about still in living memory. Good evening, does it?
Yeah, no one really remembers that one, do they?
Glenn does. He mentions it maybe once an hour when we're in his presence.
Yeah, I think he finished 6th in that league campaign, didn't he, in the end, Michael? Not making the top 4. He made the playoffs last year, but was beaten in the semi-finals.
78.
And that's a slip with the last dart.
Could Stephen Bunting really rub it in here and go 5-2 up with a monstrous 1-4-5. Stephen Bunting looking for only a second quarter-final success of the season. Oh, a little bit of Strictly Come darting here as he sachets round the hockey to finally find his position. It takes 2 to tango, and Van Gerwen wants 79. Wants 60, wants tops, squeezes that in the right side of the bed, raises an eyebrow. My word, the wrong double, the wrong side of the wire. Could be a big miss, that.
For real daylight now. Double breaker throw, if this tops is converted, and he doesn't take the chance, he lets Michael off the hook. Is it straight at it?
You do not throw a fish the size of Van Gerwen off the hook and back into the lake, because Van Gerwen will start to swim again. He hits the double 19. He's a leg behind. Stephen Bunting puts himself a max behind, 2 to 3 in that particular stat category. But the all-important one, as Mark said earlier, is the scoreboard. Bunting 4, Van Gerwen 3. You feel he should have put Van Gerwen away by now, but he hasn't.
He's still in charge. He's got the darts in this leg, and he's got the advantage of a breaker throw, and he's making it count here.
Well, a 9-darter no longer any kind of surprise in the Premier League. Seems like they're happening every week. Not quite that, but record-breaking for Gerwen Price on the Roll of Honour again. Last week.
Good leg this from Bunting. Having missed 2 to lead 5-2. Could have sort of dwelled on the disappointment. 9 darts thrown, 41. Michael Van Gerwen nowhere near. For 5-3. I suppose you're going to miss. Do it when your opponent's way back. Bunting will be back. Doesn't want to keep messing around though.
95 is a good setup. Oh, he's unlucky because it couldn't cling on to the cliff face there. Would have left himself the big fish. Bunting wants double 4. And Stephen Bunting is 5-3 up and a leg away from disappointing the Orange Army and defeating the great Dutchman here in Rotterdam. Did beat Van Gerwen in the 2024 Masters, but overall has a losing head-to-head recent record.
That was their last meeting before playing in this year's Premier League, so played for a long old while, these two. And due to Stephen not winning many games in the Premier League, they haven't clashed in semi-finals, so it's just the second one of this campaign. This will be a welcome 2 points for Bunting. Liverpool next week as well, where he'll face Rob Cross.
Home game for Stephen Bunting. Michael Van Gerwen not taking advantage of his home game at this moment in time. In 2023, lost in the quarter-final to Aspinall. In 2024, he lost in the quarter-final to Humphreys. In 2025, he's on the brink of defeat against Bunting.
Yeah, there was a final against Joe Cullen in 2022 in this format, but otherwise it offers scant reward, Rotterdam, for Michael Van Gerwen.
106.
To save the match, double 16, MVG, 1-2-3, the 106 finish. And that keeps his hopes alive. But Stephen Bunting has the darts in the 10th mark.
This is the leg for Stephen, has the advantage. Michael has broken Stephen's throw, but yeah, frustration. He's had some poor visits against the darts in this leg. He broke in leg 4, but otherwise he's offered very little resistance against the darts, Michael.
But He was 5-3 up, Mark, so he had 3 chances to close it out. But as you rightly say, this was the leg. Only one leg of the 3 was on his own darts. So the other 2, Van Gerwen will have the throw. So this still very much on a knife edge.
Big last start for Bunting. Michael will fancy this, particularly after that first dart. If he only comes away with a 1 treble visit, brilliant last one. I was going to say, if he'd not come away with at least a 2 treble visit after that first dart, he'd been bitterly disappointed. It was perfect, the first one.
Well, this leg now up for grabs, because Stephen Bunting, 64 behind as he toes the hockey. He will now be in front, and now he's favourite. Leaves Shanghai. Van Gerwen wants to leave a single darter or a 2 darter here. Well, this is for the match here now, Stephen Bunting, and a much needed victory, only his 2nd quarter-final win of 2025. My word, of all the things to do, of all the darts to throw, Stephen, that first dart was a derailing dart.
Ended the shot with the first dart. Michael's got to scramble about now. He's already hit this double in the match, and he hits it again to send us to a decider. He's had to scrap throughout this match, Michael Van Gerwen. There's been struggles, but he now has the darts in a deciding leg to pick up what would be a huge victory in Rotterdam and get him back into the top 4.
You talk about getting out of jail. For much of this match, he looked to have no price. He's now favourite. Bunting is flagging here. Seemed like the bullet had it in the bag, but he hasn't closed the door. It's still ajar. A 3rd maximum for Stephen Bunting. Does that tilt the balance in his favour? Oh, Van Gerwen hitting back. He's still averaging 88 here, Van Gerwen. Since missing Berlin, he hasn't played well in terms of averages. 97 is best since then. 97 and 85.5 last week, and 88.5 here. So Van Gerwen out of sorts, maybe still injured, but he's looking to battle his way through here to an epic win.
Good last start from Bunting, because there was some tightness in that second one. He pulled it low. It's advantage Bunting now.
And now the crowd are into it. Stephen Bunting shuts it out, shuts out all the extraneous noise out.
140, we leave him 96. Well, he's got the lot, hasn't he? He leaves 56, Michael, but it's Bunting who gets first crack. 10 points the difference in the averages in favour of Bunting, that he needs to convert this for the points. The crowd are involved now. Bunting has got to hold himself together.
Couldn't take out 120 to win the match earlier on this evening. Can he take out 81? Can he get 2 darts and a double? He can. 2 at double 12. Stephen Bunting silences the Dutch crowd, shuts out Michael Van Gerwen, wins in the Premier League in Rotterdam. The man at the bottom of the table, fighting to avoid the wooden spoon, trying to keep the flame flickering in terms of an unlikely playoff bid. But Van Gerwen's playoff hopes take a real blow